Hi everyone, my name is Jaime Martinez and I'm a backend engineer in the release management team here at GitLab. Today I'm going to show you how you can create releases from your GitLab-ci YAML file. As you can see in the blog post for 13.2, we introduced this release keyword that you can use in the YAML file so that the GitLab runner can actually parse it and you can create a release much more easily now. You can find the documentation in the CI YAML reference page in the docs. As you can see, introduced in GitLab 13.2. The release keyword indicates the job that you can create a release in it to optionally include a few parameters. So the methods that are supported are adding a tag in which the release will be created from. You can use a name for your release, a description, a ref or a commit reference to create the release from if you don't have a tag. You can use milestones if you have defined them in your project, and you can use the timestamp to say when this release was actually available from. So I can show you a little bit. We have a couple of examples in here. There are two possible ways that you can create a release as of today. One is by generating a Git tag, and by the time you push it to your repo, then the release job can pick it up and create a release from that tag. So as you can see here, we have a release job. We have the steps defined, and the one important thing to note is the rules. We need to do it when there's a commit tag. So that the job will only be picked up if you push a tag. And as you can see, we can just add the release node into this job and say, okay, I want my release to be named release with the value of the tag. We can add a description. We can have the tag name. We can have a ref if we need to, and we can add milestones and release that. One thing to note here is, as you can see, we have an extra descriptions environment variable defined here. And you can see in the docs, it says you need to define it somewhere else in the pipeline. So I'm going to show you that in just a moment. Okay, so on the left side, on this side of the screen, I have a sample project that you can find. I'll reference in the video description. I'm going to show you how you can create a release from a tag and how you can create an auto release. I'll get into that in just a moment. So I have a couple of files. One is the release from tag, which is just here. And this is my job, release from tag. The image, we are using Docker executor. So yeah, it's important to note that you need a GitLab runner with a Docker executor. And the image we're using is the release CLI that it was mentioned in a couple of videos ago. I won't go into details, but I'll link it here in the video description. And I'll skip this for now. I'm saying as a rule, just run it when there's a commit tag. And we at the moment, we require a script because the runner always needs a script. There's some issues around not needing a script when there's a release, and we'll get into that a bit later. But basically, this is a release. We are saying, same as the example, we're going to create a release from this tag. We're going to have this extra description, and we're going to use this tag name. The reference can be a commit shy, it can be a tag itself, or it can actually be a branch name as well. In this example, I'm just going to use a commit tag. And I'm adding this to milestones. And I'm also saying that this release was actually available from the 27th of July, 2020 at 4:10 p.m. UTC plus 11, which is Sydney time. So I'm going to show you my sample project. you can go to gitlab.com/jaime/hello. All of this is here available for you to take a look. And as I mentioned, there's the important thing is if you want to create, if you want to use milestones in your release, they need to exist. Otherwise, the job will fail. So that's one important thing to note. So yeah, what I'm gonna do is I have this shell on the side, and what we're gonna do is gonna create a tag. I'll show you. This is what is on my default branch. I actually have this to say release from tag. So if I create a tag, I get tag and I push it, this should pick up the new release. So say I'm just gonna do an annotated tag and say testing, and let's just say this is gonna be 1.2.0. Okay, let's just verify that the tag is there. Yep, so the tag is here, testing v1.0, 1.2.0, and just gonna do a git push tag. Okay, so if we go to the pipelines, we should be able to see this, this job picked up. That's right. So we're gonna say tag v1.2.0. And while this is running, I'm gonna show you what this prepare step is doing. And this is a release step. So if you remember this in the documentation, we say that any environment variables that you need to define before the job need to run somewhere else in the pipeline. So in this case, I'm gonna create a generate description job. It's at a previous stage, yeah. And I'm also only running it when there's a commit tag. And in my script step, what I'm doing is I'm gonna create this extra description variable. And at the moment, what I'm doing is just pushing it, piping it into this description.m file. And we're gonna take advantage of the artifacts reports.m. So this is this feature that allows you to export an environment file .env, and this can actually be used later in your other steps or in your other jobs. So for example, here in the release job, I'm saying, okay, I need this job, this generate description job to run first. And I'm saying I need the artifacts, right? So what this is gonna do, this .m is gonna source this file. So this environment variable is gonna be available later in the steps. So, okay, so I'll click on this job. And as you can see, is running the steps, the script, running release from commit tag. So here it is, running release from v1.2.0. And basically what this release job is doing is generate all of these parameters to pass into a release CLI. And the release CLI is this Docker image that we define in this step. And with those parameters, then the release CLI can create the release. So everything job succeeded. So if I go into the releases page, I should be able to see this release v1.2.0. And here's the description for it. You can see created using the release CLI, and with the extra description, generated some extra description first. So there you go, that's one. And the second step I'm gonna show is how can you sort of automate this release step. It's worth noting that we're doing some work an investigation on how we can do some semantic versioning and how can you leverage that to create releases automatically. But that's not implemented yet, but we have some issues that, that you can find and to keep track of this kind of work. So I'm just gonna reference this other pipeline, auto release. And this one, the rules are a bit different. And as you can see, I have generate tag prepare step, prepare job. And what I'm saying is don't run when there's a tag, only run it when I push any changes to the default branch. And for example, in this case, I'm gonna say, okay, grab the tag from whatever my version file has. So right now, the version file is this. So let's just do something a bit different. Let's say, for some reason, we're already on version 1.5.0. And I'm gonna say, okay, export this version into tag.env. We're doing the same trick of using the artifacts reports. And then the release job itself is, it's here. There's not a lot has changed, only the rules. I'm gonna say, okay, release from the environment variable tag, which was exported here in this file. And we're gonna say created using the release CLI extra description. Now I'm not defining anything here, so this will be empty. But the tag, okay, so now we're gonna say create the tag name from this environment variable. And the important thing to note is tag name doesn't exist, right? So this git tag doesn't exist yet. So the releases API needs to know where to create the release from. And in this case, I'm saying, okay, just use the commit SHA for this release. But like I mentioned before, it can be a branch name, or it can be another tag, like in the other example, or it can be the commit SHA. And then for this release, let's just say it was just for one of the milestones, not just both. Milestones is an array, so you can specify as many as you want. And I'm skipping the release add because I just want to generate a release when this tag is created with this current timestamp. Okay, so let's go ahead and commit this. Create release. Okay. All right, so let's go and look at the pipeline. Where are my pipelines? Okay, so it's running right now. And we're saying create a release from default branch. So if you can see here, the prepare stage has the generate tag filing here, sorry, job. And all it's gonna do is read this version file that we committed. Now, like I said, you can use some other tools to generate this tag, some semantic versioning, for example, or if you use a package.json file to keep the version, for example, then you can use that. So this script is up to you. It's up to however you want to generate this tag, and if you want to do it automatically in the process or not. Okay, so this job is done. So the .m file should be ready. So we go back to the pipeline and say, okay, release. Okay, so this job is called auto release master. So this should be is the name of the default branch in my project. And as you can see, we're saying, okay, release 1.5.0. And it's doing the same thing. It's generating these steps for the release CLI. and it's saying, okay, created a release. And if you look at the timestamp, it's July 27, 2020 at 7:02 UTC. And you can see all available releases, or I can just click on the releases tab. And here it is. So the latest release is 1.5.0. Yep. Oh, I missed the V at the top, at the front. I only set to cat the version, but that's fine. Whoops, I click on it. So you can see release 1.5.0. It matches only one milestone that we just pointed here. Created using the release CLI, and like I said, the extra description is empty, so there's nothing else. And created 1 minute ago, so that's because I didn't specify the release stat. So yeah, there you go. There's the two examples how you can run. How can you create releases from the YAML file? The important thing to note is that combining these two examples, it's a bit dangerous. That's why we say these options cannot be used together. And by dangerous, I mean we can go into a loop of creating releases or failing releases. So if, for example, I said, I want to create a release from a tag, and I want to create an auto release when I push to my default branch. So what's happening behind the scenes is this git tag is going to be created here, right? So the first job is not going to be picked up when we say release. When we push to the master branch, this release from tag job is not going to be picked up. This one will, and this will generate this tag, right? And what's going to happen is once this is done, because of the nature of the API, a git tag is going to be pushed to the repo, and then the pipeline is going to pick it up to say, oh, there's a tag. I need to create a release from this tag. And what's going to happen is, because this tag already exists and this release already exists, your job is going to fail. And that's one example when it fails, but it can potentially lead to a loop where maybe this creates an automatic tag somehow with a timestamp, for example, and then the time is going to be different, so the release may not be created. So, you know, this is a bit dangerous. So just as a note here, keep an eye on this, how you can avoid having these issues. We have an issue for addressing this in the future. If you think it's valuable, please let us know, and yeah, we'll go ahead and try to figure something out for this. But yeah, let's just say, let's see what happens when I enable both. Okay, let's see. So if both are enabled, this should pick up the, oops, I forgot to update the tag. This is gonna fail. Sorry, the version file. I forgot to update the version file, so this job is gonna fail. So, okay, let's go ahead and change it. Let's just say it's a minor fix. Release from to release. Let's include the V this time. Yes. Right. Yeah, so the first auto release failed because the version already existed. So yeah, like you can see the API replied and said, hey, there's a conflict, your release already exists. So don't create another release from the same one. Okay, so that's one. Okay, so using the correct version is running. It's gonna generate the tag from the file first. This takes a little bit. Yep, so this job is there, it's done. Creating the release. Okay, yep, so I created the 1.5.1 with the correct tag this time. And if we go back to the pipelines, as you can see, there's another job that was picked up because the new tag was pushed to the repo. So yeah, this job is gonna pass, this is fine, but when we go into the release from tag, we're gonna have an issue. We're gonna encounter the same issue because the release already exists. And just to show you, so release 1.5.1 is already here. And this is the awesome releases page that Tim has been working on recently. You can go ahead and edit releases. You can do other stuff, but yeah, I'm not gonna go too much into detail here. Okay, so this job, okay, yep. So basically failed for the same reason because the release already exists. All right, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and please reach out. You can find me on gitlab.com at Jaime, Jaime. So yeah,